Commander Lisa Boyd stood at the viewport of the USS Valiant, her eyes fixed on the stars. Her reflection showed a woman with short brown hair and a face lined by too many battles. The weight of command pressed down on her shoulders. In 12 hours, the human fleet would face the Kirvan Empire in what might be humanity's last stand. "Commander, Admiral Martinez requests your presence in the war room," said Lieutenant Alan Morris. His young face betrayed the fear he tried to hide. Lisa nodded. "Tell him I'm on my way." As she walked through the corridors of humanity's flagship, crew members stopped to salute. They all knew what was coming. 6 months ago, the Kirvan had appeared at the edge of human space. Since then, they had conquered 12 systems, leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. The war room doors slid open. Inside, Admiral Frank Martinez stood before a holographic display of the Proxima Centauri system. Around the table sat the captains of humanity's remaining warships. "Commander Boyd, welcome," said Martinez. His gray hair and beard framed a face that had seen too much war. "We were just discussing our final approach." Captain Olivia Diaz, known for her tactical genius, pointed to the display. "The Kirvan will enter the system here. Their usual pattern is to spread out in a fan formation and get destroyed in less than a minute." Captain William Evans laughed without humor. "With all due respect, we're outnumbered 3-1. "Quality over quantity, Captain," replied Captain John Russell. The veteran had survived more alien encounters than anyone else in the room. "Commander Boyd, tell them about your engineer's discovery." Lisa stepped forward. 2 weeks ago, Intelligence Officer Kevin Taylor noticed something in the battle recordings from Epsilon Eridani. She tapped the controls, bringing up footage of a Kirvan warship. Their shields flicker at this exact frequency when under heavy fire. The room fell silent as they watched the recording. Engineers Samantha Wright and Peter Collins have been working day and night on a weapon system that can exploit this weakness. Lisa continued. "It's untested in actual combat, but the simulations are promising." "Promising enough to bet Earth's survival on it?" asked Captain Diaz. Before Lisa could answer, the door opened again. Samantha Wright entered, her red hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, dark circles under her eyes. "Better than promising," she said. "We just completed the final calibrations. If it works as designed, we can disrupt every Kirvan shield in range simultaneously." Admiral Martinez studied the engineer's face. "You don't sound entirely confident, right?" Samantha sighed. "The system requires precise timing and coordination from the entire fleet. One ship off by even half a second could ruin the effect." "Then we don't miss our cue," said Captain Russell firmly. The Admiral turned to face the viewport. Beyond it lay the gathered human fleet. 37 ships, all that remained of humanity's space force. "Lisa, you'll coordinate the attack from the Valiant," Martinez said. "Olivia, your ship has the best sensors. You'll give the signal when the Kirvan shields reach their vulnerable point in the cycle." "Yes, sir," both women responded. "The rest of you return to your ships and prepare your crews." Martinez looked at each captain in turn. "This isn't just about survival anymore. It's about showing the galaxy that humans aren't easy prey." As the captains filed out, Lisa remained behind with the Admiral. "Frank, do you really think this will work?" she asked quietly. Martinez smiled grimly. "It has to." He pointed to a small, blue dot on the star map. "Earth is next if we fail here." Back in her quarters, Lisa reviewed the battle plan once more. The new weapon system, dubbed Harmonic Disruptor, required exact positioning from every ship in the fleet. If it worked, the Kirvan shields would collapse simultaneously. Her communications panel lit up. Peter Collins, the other engineer behind the weapon, appeared on screen. "Commander, we've finished installing the system on the last ship," he reported. His face was streaked with grease. "But I have concerns about the USS Defender's calibration." "What kind of concerns?" Lisa asked sharply. "Their emitter array is showing signs of stress. It might not hold for more than one burst." Lisa closed her eyes briefly. "One burst is all we need if this works. Have them run a final diagnostic and report back in an hour." After Collins signed off, Lisa opened her personal log. She stared at the blank screen for a long moment. Log entry 347. We face the Kirvan tomorrow. Intelligence suggests they have no idea what we've planned. Their communications show nothing but contempt for us. Supreme War Leader Zikthar called us primitive mammals unworthy of space travel in his last broadcast. She paused. Maybe being underestimated is our greatest advantage. The ship's AI announced 4 hours until the expected Kirvan arrival. Lisa headed to the medical bay to check preparations. Chief Medical Officer Natalie Cooper was organizing emergency supplies. We've prepared for 20% casualties, Dr. Cooper said without looking up, though I pray we won't need any of this. The plan is to end the battle before they can cause significant damage, Lisa replied. Natalie finally looked at her, blue eyes serious. I was at Terra Nova when they hit the colony. No warning, no mercy. 3,000 civilians. Her hands trembled slightly. Make them pay for that. Lisa nodded grimly. We will. On the bridge, communications specialist Diana Brown was listening to intercepted Kirvan transmissions. They're still coming in casual formation, she reported. No sign they expect anything but an easy victory. Security Chief Carlos Rodriguez approached with a tablet. Final security sweep is complete, all systems secure. The hours ticked by. Crew members moved through their duties with quiet efficiency. Some wrote messages to loved ones. Others sat in silence, preparing themselves mentally. At last the alarm sounded. Lisa took her position on the bridge as the view screen showed space distorting at the edge of the system. All ships report ready, said Diana. Harmonic disruptor systems online. The first Kirvan warship emerged from FTL travel, its black hull, absorbing the light from Proxima Centauri. Then another appeared, and another. Soon 50 massive ships hung in space before them. Enemy fleet has arrived, Lisa announced, her voice steady. Battle stations, prepare to make history. The Kirvan flagship moved forward, its size dwarfing the human vessels. A transmission came through. Humans, a harsh voice said. I am Supreme. War Leader Zikathar of the glorious Kirvan Empire. Your resistance ends today. Surrender now and some of your species may be permitted to live as servants. Admiral Martinez stepped into view of the transmission. This is Admiral Frank Martinez of Earth. We have a different proposal. As Martinez kept the Kirvan commander talking, Lisa watched the enemy fleet spreading into attack formation, just as predicted. She caught Captain Diaz's eye across the bridge. Everything was going according to plan. The human fleet waited in perfect formation, engines ready, weapons primed. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had something the Kirvan didn't expect, a plan that might just work, and if it did, the battle would be over in less than a minute. Lieutenant Alan Morris ran the final simulation of the harmonic disruptor for the 12th time. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he studied the results. The weapon system was still showing a 15% chance of failure. Better than yesterday's 20%, but not as reassuring as he'd hoped. Still at it, Morris? Engineer Samantha Wright entered the simulation lab, carrying 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Alan. Thanks, he said, taking a grateful sip. I can't shake the feeling we're missing something. Samantha leaned over his shoulder, her red hair falling forward as she studied his screen. The calibration on the USS Defender is still off. If they fire even a millisecond late, it could disrupt the harmonic wave. Alan nodded. I've sent the adjustments to Peter Collins. He's on board the Defender now, making the final tweaks. Their communicators beeped simultaneously. Admiral Martinez's voice came through. All senior officers report to the war room. 1 hour to engagement. The war room was packed when they arrived. Chief Medical Officer Natalie Cooper was reviewing casualty projections with her medical team. Security Chief Carlos Rodriguez was briefing his security squads on boarding procedures, if any Kirvan ships were disabled rather than destroyed. Admiral Martinez entered and the room fell silent. The Kirvan have rejected our offer for peaceful negotiation, he announced. No surprise there. They're moving into attack formation now. He activated the holographic display showing the enemy fleet spreading into a wide fan shape. Exactly as Captain Diaz predicted. Olivia Diaz stepped forward. Their formation gives us one advantage. When their ships are arranged like this, their shield harmonics synchronize to prevent friendly fire incidents. It's why their shields appear more powerful in battle than in isolated encounters. And it's what makes our plan possible, added Lisa Boyd. One disruption wave amplified across their entire fleet. What's the status of the weapon system? Martinez asked, turning to Samantha and Alan. 95% ready, Samantha replied. Engineer Collins is making final adjustments to the USS Defender now. Martinez nodded. It'll have to do. We launch in 50 minutes. He looked around the room at the faces of humanity's defenders. Some were veterans of multiple conflicts. Others were fresh out of the academy, thrust into a war they never expected. All would risk everything today. I've seen humanity face threats before, Martinez said, his voice strong and clear. Alien invasions, civil wars, natural disasters. Each time we've survived not because we were stronger or more advanced, but because we refused to give up. The Kirvan think we're primitive. They think we're easy prey. Today we proved them wrong. A cheer went up from the assembled officers. As they dispersed to their battle stations, Lisa approached Martinez. That was quite the speech, she said with a small smile. Let's hope it's not my last, he replied. How are you holding up, Lisa? She thought for a moment. Scared. Determined. Ready. He nodded. That makes two of us. On the bridge of the USS Defiant, Captain Olivia Diaz ran her crew through one final battle drill. Her ship would be crucial to the plan's success. Their advanced sensors would detect the precise moment when the Kirvan shields reached their most vulnerable point in the cycle. Sensor team, response time, she called out. 0.3 seconds. Captain, replied the lead sensor officer. Not good enough, I need 0.2 or better. The crew redoubled their efforts, knowing every fraction of a second could mean the difference between victory and annihilation. Meanwhile, on the USS Defender, Peter Collins worked frantically to calibrate the ship's part of the harmonic disruptor. The captain, William Evans, stood behind him with arms crossed. How much longer, Collins? Evans asked, checking the time. We have 30 minutes until engagement. Almost there, Peter muttered, not looking up from his work. His fingers flew over the controls, making micro-adjustments to the emitter array. The problem is this ship took heavy damage in the Epsilon Eridani battle. The power couplings are unstable. Will it hold for one burst? Peter finally looked up, his face grave. It has to. Back on the USS Valiant, Bridge Officer George Miller spotted something on his screen. Commander Boyd, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the Kirvan flagship. Lisa moved quickly to his station. What kind of readings? It looks like they're powering up some kind of energy weapon, much larger than anything we've seen from them before. Lisa immediately opened a channel to Admiral Martinez, who was in the Fleet Command Center. Admiral, the Kirvan flagship is powering up an unknown weapon. Readings suggest it's massive. Martinez's voice came back tense. How long until it's operational? At current power buildup, 15 minutes, replied Miller. That's cutting it close, Martinez said. We need more time. Lisa, open a channel to Supreme War Leader Zekthar. I'll try to stall him. While Martinez engaged the Kirvan leader in renewed negotiations, the human fleet moved into its final positions. Each ship had a specific role to play in the coming engagement. Communications specialist Diana Brown suddenly straightened in her chair. Commander, I'm picking up increased communications between Kirvan ships. They seem confused. About what? Lisa asked. They're questioning our formation. It doesn't match any known human battle strategy. Diana looked up with a small smile. They don't understand what we're doing. Good, Lisa replied. Let's keep them guessing. Security Chief Carlos Rodriguez burst onto the bridge. Commander, we have a situation. One of our technicians was found unconscious in a maintenance tube. The security logs show someone accessed our tactical database 10 minutes ago. Lisa's blood ran cold. A Kirvan infiltrator? Most likely. We're searching the ship now, but they could have already transmitted our plans to the enemy fleet. Lisa immediately contacted Martinez. "Admiral, we may have been compromised. Recommend moving to Plan B." "Understood," Martinez replied, after a brief pause. "All ships, switch to secondary formation and prepare to execute Plan B on my mark." The human fleet smoothly shifted positions. If the Kirvan had indeed received intel on their primary strategy, they would find themselves facing something entirely different. On the Kirvan flagship, Supreme War Leader Zakthar watched the human ships with contempt. These mammals thought they could stand against the might of the Empire. He had conquered 12 systems without a single defeat. These humans would be no different. "Supreme War Leader," one of his officers called out. "The human fleet is changing formation." Zakthar waved a dismissive hand. "It makes no difference. Our weapons will tear through their primitive shields regardless of how they arrange themselves. But our infiltrators sent data indicating they would use a standard defense pattern. This is unusual." For the first time, a flicker of unease passed through the Supreme War Leader. These humans had proven more resourceful than expected. Could they have discovered their spy? No matter. In minutes, his new superweapon would be ready, and he would reduce their flagship to dust as an example. "Enough talk," Zakthar commanded. "Break off negotiations. Move the fleet into attack positions. It is time to add Earth to our conquests." On the bridge of the Valiant, Diana reported, "They've cut communications, Commander. Their ships are powering weapons." Lisa took a deep breath. "This is it. All hands to battle stations. May luck be with us all." The moment had come. In the next few minutes, humanity would either score its greatest victory or face its final defeat. The space between the two fleets seemed to stretch endlessly. On the main view screen of the USS Valiant, the Kirvan ships looked like black daggers against the stars. Their hulls absorbed light rather than reflected it, making them appear as moving shadows. A message alert sounded on the communications console. Diana Brown looked up from her station. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the Kirvan flagship." Lisa Boyd nodded. "Put it through." The face of Supreme War Leader Zakthar filled the screen. The alien's gray skin was stretched tight over a skeletal face. 4 yellow eyes blinked independently of each other. When he spoke, rows of needle-like teeth flashed. "Humans," he said, his voice translated into a metallic monotone. "I am Supreme War Leader Zakthar of the glorious Kirvan Empire, conqueror of 12 systems, destroyer of resistance. You have refused our generous offer of surrender. Now you will witness the price of defiance." Lisa kept her face neutral. "This is Commander Lisa Boyd of the United Earth Fleet. We have a counter-proposal." The alien's upper eyes narrowed. "Speak quickly, mammal. Your time grows short." "You call us primitive," Lisa said, her voice steady. "You believe our technology is inferior to yours, yet you've never faced humanity in a direct confrontation. We propose a demonstration of our capabilities before any further bloodshed." Zakthar made a sound that might have been laughter. "A demonstration? Very well. Show me this primitive technology that you believe can stand against the Empire." Lisa glanced at Admiral Martinez, who gave a slight nod from his position off-screen. This was exactly what they had hoped for. A chance to keep the Kirvan talking while their ships moved into the perfect position. "We'll need 10 minutes to prepare our demonstration," Lisa said. "You have 5, Zakthar replied before cutting the transmission. Martinez immediately opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships, continue moving into position for Plan B. The enemy expects a demonstration. Let's give them one they'll never forget." On the bridge of the USS Defiant, Captain Olivia Diaz monitored her sensor readings. "The Kirvan ships are holding position, Admiral. Their shields are active but not at full power. They're not expecting an attack." "Perfect," Martinez replied. "Lieutenant Commander Susan Parker, what's the status of the energy readings from their flagship?" From her station on the Valiant, Susan checked her instruments. "The unknown weapon is still powering up, sir. Energy levels are climbing steadily. It will reach full power in approximately 6 minutes." That's cutting it close, Martinez muttered. We need to strike before then. Meanwhile, Security Chief Carlos Rodriguez and his team cornered the Kirvan infiltrator in a maintenance section of Deck 12. The alien had shed its human disguise, revealing its true form. A gray-skinned creature with 4 arms and yellow eyes. Surrender now, Carlos ordered, his weapon trained on the infiltrator. The Kirvan bared its needle teeth. You are already defeated, human. The Supreme War Leader knows of your plan. Which plan? Carlos asked with a slight smile. The one we wanted you to find, or the real one? For the first time, uncertainty flickered in the alien's eyes. Back on the bridge, Lisa received confirmation that the infiltrator had been captured. Admiral Rodriguez has the spy in custody. The Kirvan think they know our strategy, but they have old information. Good, Martinez replied. Engineer Collins, status of the harmonic disruptor? Peter's voice came through from the USS Defender. Final calibrations complete, Admiral. All ships are synchronized. We're ready. Captain Diaz, what's your assessment of their shield harmonics? Olivia studied her readings carefully. Their shields are synchronizing, just as we predicted. Optimal moment for disruption will occur in 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Martinez nodded. All ships prepare to execute Plan B on my mark. Remember, we'll only get one shot at this. As the human fleet continued its seemingly random movements, the Kirvan watched with growing confusion. Supreme War Leader Zucathar summoned his tactical officer. What are they doing? He demanded. This matches no known human formation. Unknown, Supreme War Leader, the officer replied. Perhaps they are, simply in disarray. Our spy reported their weapon system had a high chance of failure. Zakathar's upper eyes narrowed. Something is wrong. Power the shields to maximum. Prepare to fire on my command. But Supreme War Leader, our superweapon requires 2 more minutes to reach full power. I will not wait. These humans are planning something. On the Valiant, Diana reported. Commander, the Kirvan are powering up their shields to maximum. Lisa exchanged glances with Martinez. They suspect something. It doesn't matter, Martinez said firmly. Their shields synchronizing at maximum power only makes our plan more effective. The higher the energy in their shield grid, the more catastrophic the failure when we disrupt it. 1 minute to optimal disruption point, Olivia reported from the Defiant. Martinez opened the fleet channel. All ships' final positions. Prepare to execute on my mark. Throughout the human fleet, crews braced for battle. Engineers made last-second adjustments. Weapons officers charged their systems. Medical teams stood ready. In engineering aboard the USS Defender, Peter Collins monitored the power flow to the harmonic disruptor. The readings were fluctuating. Captain Evans, he called urgently. We have a power spike in the main coupling. Captain. William Evans rushed to his side. Can you stabilize it? I'm trying, Peter said, his fingers flying over the controls. But we may not get full power when we fire. Evans hit his communicator. Admiral, we have a situation on the Defender. Our emitter array is unstable. Martinez's voice came back, instantly. Can you fire? Yes, but at reduced power, Evans replied. It'll have to do. Maintain position, we're committed now. On the Kirvan flagship, alarms began to sound. Supreme War Leader, the tactical officer called out. The human ships are emitting unusual energy patterns. They're all focusing on the same frequency, the exact resonance of our shield harmonics. For the first time, fear showed on Zikthar's face. Impossible. Fire all weapons, destroy them now. But it was already too late. Now, Martinez ordered. Throughout the human fleet, the harmonic disruptor activated. Each ship emitted a precisely calibrated energy wave. Alone, each wave would have been harmless. Together, they created a cascading disruption that targeted the exact frequency of the Kirvan shields. On the Valiant's view screen, the effect was immediate and stunning. The Kirvan shields became visible as rippling curtains of energy, then began to flicker and fail. It's working, Lisa exclaimed. The USS Defender's emitter array sparked and failed just as Peter had feared, but it had held long enough to add its energy to the combined wave. "All Kirvan shields are down," Olivia reported from the Defiant, unable to keep the triumph from her voice. "They're completely exposed." Martinez didn't hesitate. "All ships target their weapon systems and engines. Fire at will." The human fleet opened fire as one. Without their shields, the Kirvan ships were suddenly vulnerable. Precision strikes hit their weapon arrays and propulsion systems. On the Kirvan flagship, chaos erupted. "Shields are down!" an officer screamed. "All ships reporting shield failure." "Impossible!" Zekthar roared. "How could these primitives—" His words were cut off as the first human torpedoes struck his ship. The superweapon's power core, now unstable without the protective shields, began to overload. The battle had just begun, but the outcome was already clear. The humans were about to win, and it wouldn't even take a minute. The first salvo from the Kirvan fleet lit up the darkness of space. Energy beams sliced through the void, aimed at the human ships. But the attack came too late. With their shields down and systems in disarray, their normally precise weapons fired wildly. "Evasive maneuvers," Lisa Boyd ordered as the USS Valiant tilted sharply to avoid the incoming fire. Pilot Laura Wilson's hands flew over the controls. The massive ship responded with surprising agility, rolling away from the Kirvan energy beams. Only one glancing hit struck their hull, leaving a scorched mark but causing no serious damage. "All ships, execute attack pattern Delta," Admiral Martinez commanded over the fleet-wide channel. "Focus fire on their weapons and propulsion systems. Disable, don't destroy if possible." Across the human fleet, ships moved with precision that shocked the Kirvan commanders. The USS Defiant, under Captain Olivia Diaz, led a group of smaller vessels in a tight formation that swept past the enemy's left flank, firing concentrated bursts at specific targets. On the bridge of the USS Invincible, Captain John Russell watched as his tactical officer lined up their shot. "Fire when ready," he ordered calmly. A stream of high-energy torpedoes erupted from the Invincible, striking a Kirvan destroyer precisely where its main weapons control was located. The alien ship's guns went dark immediately. "Direct hit, Captain," the tactical officer reported with excitement. Russell nodded. "Move to the next target." The battle unfolded with astonishing speed. 20 seconds had passed since the harmonic disruptor had taken down the Kirvan shields, and already 5 enemy ships were disabled. On the Kirvan flagship, Supreme War Leader Zekthar roared in fury as systems failed around him. "How is this possible? They are primitives. Their technology is inferior." His tactical officer cowered before him. "Supreme War Leader, they knew exactly where to hit us. Every shot is precisely targeted to disable critical systems. Return fire. Destroy them." "We cannot, Supreme War Leader. Weapons control is not responding, and half the fleet reports similar problems." Zekthar slammed his fist into the command console. "Bring the superweapon online, now. The power core is destabilizing. If we try to fire now, it could—" "I did not ask for your opinion. Fire the weapon or die where you stand." Aboard the Valiant, Lieutenant Commander Susan Parker noticed a dangerous energy spike from the Kirvan flagship. "Commander, their superweapon is powering up, but the readings are unstable if they fire it in that condition." Lisa understood immediately. "Admiral, the Kirvan flagship is about to fire their superweapon with an unstable power core. If they do, it could cause a cascade reaction." Martinez made a quick decision. "Captain Evans, take your fighters and target their weapons' energy conduits. We need to shut it down before they fire." William Evans responded immediately. "Roger that, fighter. Squadron, form up on me, we're going in." A dozen small, agile fighters launched from the USS Defender, streaking toward the massive Kirvan flagship. Evans led them in a tight formation, weaving through enemy fire. 30 seconds since shields down, Olivia reported from the Defiant. 11 Kirvan ships disabled, 0 human casualties. The fighter squadron reached the flagship, breaking formation to attack from multiple angles. Evans targeted a glowing section of the hull where energy readings indicated the superweapon's main conduit was located. "All fighters, target that power junction," he ordered. Fire on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. A dozen precision shots hit the same spot simultaneously. The hull plating buckled and then shattered, exposing the pulsing energy core beneath. Before the Kirvan could respond, Evans fired a final shot directly into the exposed core. The result was immediate. The superweapon's power conduits exploded in a chain reaction that rippled across the enormous ship. Secondary explosions followed, as the energy backlash triggered failures throughout the vessel. Pull back, Evans shouted as his fighters raced away from the failing flagship. On the Kirvan bridge, alarms screamed as systems failed catastrophically. Superweapon critical failure, an officer shouted. Power core meltdown imminent. Sigthar stared in disbelief at the tactical display. In just 40 seconds, the humans had disabled or destroyed over a third of his fleet. His invincible armada, which had conquered 12 systems without a single defeat, was being systematically taken apart by these supposedly primitive mammals. All ships, he ordered, his voice hollow with shock. Retreat to a massive explosion. Cut off his words as the superweapon's power core finally gave way. The flagship shuddered violently, splitting apart from within. The human fleet watched as the enormous Kirvan vessel broke into pieces, secondary explosions rippling through its structure. The remaining Kirvan ships, seeing their flagship destroyed, and their supreme war leader presumably dead, fell into disarray. All ships cease fire, Martinez ordered. Let's see how they respond. The sudden silence in space was striking. For a moment, nothing moved. Then, one by one, the Kirvan ships began powering down their weapons. Admiral, Diana reported from communications, we're receiving surrender signals from 7 Kirvan vessels. The others appear to be preparing to retreat. Martinez allowed himself a small smile. How long since we activated the harmonic disruptor? Lisa checked the mission timer. 52 seconds, Admiral. Looks like we might not even need the full minute, Martinez said. The bridge crew of the Valiant broke into relieved laughter and cheers. Similar celebrations erupted throughout the human fleet as the news spread. After months of defeats and retreats, of colony worlds destroyed and lives lost, humanity had finally found a way to fight back and win. Lisa looked at the tactical display, hardly believing what she was seeing. Out of 50 Kirvan ships, 15 were destroyed or critically damaged, 23 were disabled and surrendering, and the remainder were retreating in disorder. What are your orders, Admiral? She asked Martinez. Contact the surrendering ships. Tell them we accept their surrender and will provide assistance to their wounded. Have Dr. Cooper prepare medical teams. Lisa raised an eyebrow. We're going to help them? After everything they've done? Martinez nodded firmly. That's what makes us different from them, Commander. We fight when we must, but we show mercy when we can. Let the surviving Kirvan return to their empire with that message. As Lisa relayed the orders, she watched the timer tick past the 1-minute mark. The battle that everyone had expected to be humanity's last stand had instead become its greatest victory, and it had taken less than 60 seconds. The impossible had happened. The human fleet had entered the battlefield, and the enemy hadn't lasted a minute. 6 hours after the battle, the space around Proxima Centauri was filled with activity. Human shuttles moved between ships, carrying medical supplies, technical teams, and diplomats. The Kirvan vessels that had surrendered remained in position, their weapons powered down, their crews uncertain about their fate. On the bridge of the USS Valiant, Lisa Boyd watched the tactical display with a sense of wonder that hadn't faded. I still can't believe we pulled it off, she said to Admiral Martinez, who stood beside her. Believe it, Martinez replied with a tired smile, though I'm not sure anyone back on Earth will. Diana Brown looked up from her communication station. Speaking of Earth, Admiral, we've received a response to our battle report. The Defense Council is, well, they're stunned. They're asking for confirmation that the numbers are correct. Martinez chuckled. Tell them it's all true. 50 enemy ships engaged, 38 neutralized, and all in 58 seconds. And our casualties? Lisa asked quietly. 14 wounded across the fleet, no fatalities, Martinez answered. Most of the injuries were minor, sustained during evasive maneuvers. It seemed impossible. After months of devastating losses, after watching colony after colony fall to the Kirvan onslaught, humanity had not only won a battle, but had done so with a nearly perfect victory. In the medical bay, Dr. Natalie Cooper was treating a Kirvan officer who had been recovered from one of the damaged ships. Despite her initial reluctance to help those who had killed so many humans, her medical training had taken over. The alien physiology was challenging, but not impossible to understand. "Your internal bleeding has stopped," she told the Kirvan, who watched her with all four eyes. "You'll recover, though that arm may never regain full function." The alien spoke through a translator device. "Why do you help me? We would have exterminated your kind." Natalie paused in her work. "That's the difference between us. We don't exterminate." The Kirvan was silent for a long moment. "Perhaps we have misjudged your species." In engineering, Peter Collins was examining data from the harmonic disruptor system with Samantha Wright. The victory had come at a cost to the equipment. Nearly every emitter array across the fleet had burned out after that single powerful burst. "We won't be able to use this trick again," Peter said, scrolling through the damage reports. "The Kirvan will adapt their shield frequencies," Samantha nodded. "But we've proved we can find weaknesses in their technology. If they have one vulnerability, they'll have others." "Already working on finding them?" Peter asked with a smile. "Of course. Victory is good, but being prepared is better." On the USS, Defender Captain William Evans and his fighter pilots were celebrating their successful run against the Kirvan flagship. Their precision strike had been the turning point of the brief battle. "To humanity's finest pilots," Evans toasted, raising a cup of coffee in the mess hall. "When the history of this war is written, remember that it was fighters that took down a dreadnought." The pilots cheered, though their celebration was subdued. They had won today, but all of them knew the war was far from over. The Kirvan Empire spanned dozens of systems. They had lost one fleet, but there would be others. In the war room of the Valiant, a very different meeting was taking place. Admiral Martinez sat across from Sub-Commander Vorak, the highest-ranking Kirvan survivor. Two security officers stood nearby, weapons ready but not drawn. "Your terms are unusual," Vorak said, his translator conveying his confusion. "You demand no territory, no resources, no slaves. Only the return of human prisoners and a non-aggression pact." Martinez leaned forward. "We don't want your territory or your resources. We simply want to be left in peace. Today proved that conflict between us would be costly for both sides." The Kirvan's upper eyes blinked rapidly. "The Supreme War Leader believed your species was primitive, barely worthy of notice. He was incorrect." "A costly miscalculation," Martinez agreed. "Others will come," Vorak warned. "When the Empire learns of this defeat, they will send more ships, more warriors." Martinez nodded. "We expect that. But now they'll come with respect, not contempt. And perhaps they'll consider diplomacy before warfare." The Kirvan officer was silent for a long moment. "I cannot speak for the Empire, but I will convey your terms, and I will tell them what I have seen here today." As the meeting concluded, Lisa Boyd entered with a data pad. She waited until the Kirvan was escorted out, before approaching Martinez. "We've completed our analysis of their technology, Admiral. Their ships are advanced, but not as advanced as they led us to believe. Much of their tactical advantage came from psychology, making other species believe they were invincible." Martinez looked thoughtful. "And now that illusion is broken." "Not just broken," Lisa said. "Shattered completely. The surviving Kirvan will return to their empire with stories of how humans defeated them in less than a minute. That story will spread." "Good," Martinez said. "Fear might have driven their conquests, but stories of our victory might prevent future conflicts." 2 days later, the human fleet prepared to escort the surrendered Kirvan ships to the edge of the system. From there, the aliens would return to their empire with news of their defeat and the human terms for peace. On the bridge, of the Valiant communications specialist Diana Brown had a suggestion. Admiral, with your permission, I'd like to broadcast a message on all frequencies as the Kirvan depart. Martinez raised an eyebrow. What kind of message? Something simple. Something they'll remember. The Admiral considered for a moment, then nodded. Make it good, Specialist. As the Kirvan ships prepared to leave, Diana opened all communication channels. Her voice, clear and strong, carried to every ship in both fleets. This is Earth. We come in peace, but we will defend ourselves. Remember what happened here today. The message was translated into the Kirvan language and repeated. There was no response from the alien vessels, but none was expected. They slowly turned away and disappeared into faster-than-light travel, carrying with them the tale of their impossible defeat. On the main view screen, the stars shone peacefully once more. The battle that had lasted less than a minute would change the course of history for both species. Set course for Earth, Martinez ordered. It's time to go home. As the human fleet prepared to depart, Lisa stood at the viewport, watching the stars. For the first time in months, she felt hope for the future. Humanity had proven itself on the battlefield in the most decisive way possible. The Kirvan had entered the battle expecting an easy victory. They hadn't lasted a minute.